Oh, good morning. It's Saturday, April 10th. I'm back. Taking a walk this morning. There's bad weather coming our way. Although I don't think it hits till later tonight, but if I'm able to walk next couple of days, it'll depend on precipitation, because obviously I don't want my phone to get too wet. But yeah, we got snow coming again. Several centimeters, they say. It'll start with rain and then turn to snow, and it'll be below freezing the next 3 days or so. So that means it'll likely stick again. Then we got to go through the whole melting process all over again. And just the day after I was pointing out all those nice green buds on the trees. It's 7 degrees right now, a bit cloudy, so cool as I start out, but just wearing a sweater today, I'll warm up quickly. Nothing special planned on the walk. I'm going to walk over to Elfinstone, I think, up to Victoria, go out east along Victoria, which I don't, west, which I don't normally do, or haven't done yet. And then come back probably along the creek in the reverse direction than I normally walked along the creek. Got a podcast to do this weekend. Sebastian de Castel, who's a best-selling YA author, lives in Vancouver or Victoria. Vancouver, I think. So I talked to him just earlier this week, so this is one that's happening quite freshly after the interview. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay. So I've uploaded my recording to sonics.ai, which is what does the automated transcript. And if it's a good, clear recording, which it likely is, as I recall it, it was good. It does a pretty good job, but it still takes about, I'd say 3 hours at least of editing on that 1 hour transcript. Sometimes 4. And then once I have the transcript, then I put it on the website. There's work to do there, links and pictures. And I also have to record my intro and outro to the podcast. So it's quite a big job every time I do one of these, which is why I only do them every 2 weeks. But if I didn't do the podcast, I wouldn't have the anthology, which I kickstarted last year, or the one that I just successfully kickstarted this year, Shapers of Worlds Volume 2, which has funded, and now comes the real work of gathering stories, editing, layout, arranging for publication, all that stuff. There'll be a book at the end of it this fall. If you happen to be watching this live, drop me a note, I'll see it. I'll sort of zigzag over to Elfinstone and then up to Victoria, and then go out on the west side, walk around to the park, and then home. Make this thing point straight ahead. Got a little more writing done on the Tangled Stars yesterday. I've got a whole bunch of spaceships heading to the same rendezvous point. All of them with different agendas. Well, the spaceships don't have agendas. Well, actually, in the case of the ones that are run by AIs, at least one of them does have an agenda. But anyway, lots of different agendas all converging on one rendezvous. And exactly what happens then, I'm not entirely sure. I'll figure that out when I write it. Might be working on it later. Depends on how the podcast goes today. quiet out here right now on a Saturday morning in these streets. Walked around the lake yesterday. I think that's going to be a Friday thing. I walk around Wascana Lake and try to, keep track of the changing seasons. Hopefully any snow we get is gone again by next Friday, but it might not be. Likely will be. These spring snows don't last long, but they're always kind of a shock when it's been warm and sunny and everything's melted away and leaves are starting to bud out, and then you get a dump of snow. But I've seen it as late as the Victoria Day weekend, which is third weekend in May, so it's certainly possible. In fact, I think they say there's snow on record in Saskatchewan every month of the year except July. And that might just be southern Saskatchewan. Northern Saskatchewan could be every month of the year, wouldn't surprise me. Even in early August, you can get frost warnings sometimes as the days start to get shorter. I wonder about trees like that. It seems like it's had a hard life. For a tree, whatever that means for a tree. Normally this would be our grocery shopping day, but Margaret Ann's tied up in a meeting, so. On the other hand, that means I can probably get my podcast done today, which I need to do because I also have other stuff to do. I'm mentoring somebody through the Saskatchewan Writers Guild, and I've gone through her middle grade fantasy chapter by chapter, and now now she's sent me a revision, first 60 pages or so, and I'm going to read it just straight through without making line by line notes, so I can get a sense of the story flow and pacing and all that. And I have a phone call with her tomorrow. This is Holy Rosary School here, which I think is closing. So far, nobody has found me live today. Or at least if they have, if you're watching live, you haven't left me a message, so I don't know you're there. There you go, Holy Rosary Community School. When it was built, it might say up there on the top. 1944, I think it says, or is it 1914? 1914, hell, that makes more sense. So, been around for well over 100 years, but demographics change and neighborhoods change. There's a new house over there that fits into the neighborhood a bit more than some of the ultra-modern ones. We'll cut through the playground here. There's our friend, the cathedral. Sounds like a children's book. Your friend, the cathedral. Oh, pigeons, squirrels. You see the squirrel down there? Another one, just 2 trees down. There goes. No shortage of squirrels around here. Most of our power outages are due to squirrels. We think. They get into a transformer, bang! That's the end of the squirrel, and we have a power outage for 3 hours. At least in the spring. Our last power outage was because of high winds, huge snowstorm, but there's the cathedral coming up from this side. Holy Rosary Cathedral. And again, this building over here is used to be a nunnery, but now is condos. Across the street over there is the 12th Avenue Coffee House, 13th Avenue, Why would I say 12? Which I haven't got into as often as you'd think I'd go into a local coffee house. It just isn't a place that's conducive to being a place I sit and write. So I really want to get back to going to coffee shops and pubs for writing. I'm more productive out of the house than in it. Well, looks like we can jaywalk without the slightest concern here. An old apartment building here. I've been in there years ago. I took out a girl who lived there long before I was married. Remember what we went to, concert or something. I think she worked at the Science Center, as did I. There's the front of that building. Little stores along here like Groovy Mama. Look, love, buy. I don't actually know what that is. Real estate? It's an empty lot. Oh, that's what it is. It's a sign to sell the lot. Here we have the hair house, massage therapy, 2. I guess this one is still a house. It doesn't have a business sign on it. Now we'll go up to Victoria. There's one of the ultra-modern houses that's popped up in these neighborhoods. Trouble is, they all kind of look alike. So, I don't know why so many of them follow that pattern. Why isn't there more variety? One more block up takes us to Victoria, and we'll just head straight east on that. West. Sun sets over there. That's usually a good sign of direction. You can always see the cathedral around here in the cathedral neighborhood. It's kind of a landmark. The spires are tall enough to stand up around above much of the brush and trees. And over there has an interesting window on the side of the porch, of the veranda. Nobody said hi yet this morning. I really am talking to myself. Keeping a good pace though. My knees have, which I complained about a bit when I first started doing these, seem to have gotten used to it. I mean, I still feel it, but it doesn't, it's not as bad as it was when I first started trying to walk every day. It's an old building of a different style of multi-unit dwelling than is common. There's a couple like that, but not many. All right, here's Victoria Avenue, that is. The big boulevard with the trees down the middle. I'll go this way and just keep going this way till we get down to where it curves. It'll all be much prettier when the leaves come out, and they're working on it. You can see it in every bush you pass now. The beginning of leaves budding out, or new growth in the twigs. These people who don't want to mow grass, I have sympathy for that approach. Although I'm not going to do that to our front yard, but our front yard needs new grass though. It took a real beating when we renovated the house, and there was a plywood walkway stretching across the grass, which killed it, and there was a dumpster sitting out there which dug holes and killed the grass under it. And done a little bit of grass seed and fertilizer and all that stuff, but it doesn't seem to have come back very well. Also, the front yard is quite shaded because of all the trees and the bushes. So here's Elfinstone. Now we're going to keep going straight up, which will take me into a part I haven't walked in before. I might go over on the other side because we're going to go by the lawn bowling club, and you wouldn't want to miss that. Not sure which one is going to change. That one is. Okay, we'll cross over to the other side. You can see Mosaic Stadium up there. One of these days I'll walk up there and walk around that whole complex. Hopefully someday I'll go to a football game again there. Could happen. This fall, I hope. Hopefully before. They say, even though our numbers are up at the moment, they say with vaccination and everything, could be at herd immunity in Saskatchewan by summer. I've had my first shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine. There's no hint of when the second shot will be coming, but apparently they're not getting a huge take-up in the drive-thrus, and they have a lot of doses, so they might start offering the second shots pretty soon, which would be good. At least for those of us who've had our first. I could now get the other kind if I'd waited this long. My age group is now able to make appointments for the, I guess it's the Moderna one. But I took the first one that became available, which was at the drive-thru. An interesting house on that corner. Oh, there's someone. Who's that? Yeah. Cool. Moderna. Got a pretty green sticker. Made me feel like I was in elementary school or kindergarten. Ooh, I got a sticker. Should have been a gold star. Dustless sanding and refinishing. How dustless is that really? Here is Leslie Park. I don't walk down this way. I don't think I've ever walked down this way. I've only driven this way a couple of times. There's just no reason to come this way. Here's a... Oh, and there you can see Mosaic Stadium just over across the street there. Leslie Park. Looks like an outdoor rink over there. Playground. And then we'll come up next, as I promised, to the Lawn Bowling Club. Very exciting. Maria says her sticker was yellow. Don't worry, we live in different provinces. There's a good shot of the sign on Mosaic Stadium over there. Home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders of the Canadian Football League. If you're watching from somewhere else in the world. We're supposed to have Grey Cup, the national championship there last fall, but that didn't happen. It's just another blow to the economy. I presume we're first in line for when play resumes. Well, this is the lawn bowling club over here to my right. Looks like the lawns are all covered, as one would expect. I've been in this clubhouse. Never gone lawn bowling, but people rent the clubhouse sometimes for events. It's nothing fancy inside, but it's got a kitchen and an open space. And here we go. The Leslie Bowling Greens, home of the Regina Lawn Bowling Club. What's the plaque say? Leslie Bowling Greens, 1932. Founded in 1912, the Regina Lawn Bowling Club operated from several locations before settling at the Leslie Bowling Greens, opened by Mayor James McCarroll. Oh, that's the guy I played when I did the Regina Cyclone stuff. I played Mayor McCarroll, tried to do my Scottish accent. On Victoria Day 1932, as one of only 3 four-green facilities in Canada, the club has hosted several national championships and the North American Challenge. Oh dear. If you're still watching, you'll appreciate this. They misspelled challenge. CHALLANGE. Oh, there's always a typo in public signs. It's usually the misuse of an apostrophe. I don't think I've ever seen challenge misspelled before. Nobody noticed that? Or they said, well, it's misspelled, but it's too much trouble to change it. Let's just leave it. Nobody will notice. I don't know. When did the snow go away? In the last week, our last little bit disappeared in the backyard. But as I said when I started, we've got several centimeters coming over the next 3 days. So it's all going to be white again. Probably Monday. By Monday, if I do this, if it's not so wet, I don't want to take my camera out. I'll be walking in the snow again. Below freezing for about 3 days. And then it'll warm up and melt again for the 3rd or 4th time that it's melted and turned white and melted. Not a lot of traffic down at this end of Victoria. It's just no particular reason to come here. If you do, you likely came off the Louvain, and which is a busy expressway, and you want to be on Victoria. So you turn left at a 4-way stop we will come to as I keep walking and come this way. But most people go straight on down 13th, which also takes you downtown. Yeah, same at you. Ah! Crows always have something to say. And they are pretty darn smart, so probably not complimentary either, whatever it is they're saying. So this is kind of a buffer. Just the other side over there is a busy street, Saskatchewan Drive. It also goes downtown. And straight ahead of us, if you see cars going by down low, that's the Louvain Expressway. I think that's what they call it, the expressway. Speed limit's a bit higher, it's like 70 to 80 on that. Oh, and there's the big intersection. So when I got my shot through the drive-through, the lineup started way up Saskatchewan Drive here. Then we came all the way along here, went around the corner, finally got onto the fairgrounds, then got put into ranks, and that's when I waited. And by the end of, when I finally got my shot, it had been at least 4 hours. It may have been more like 5. But I had my, just for fun, let's go down the alley. I had my computer with me and actually got quite a bit of writing done in the car, so it wasn't so bad. Well, that's the intersection of Louvain and to my right, Saskatchewan Drive. This is a paved alley. The one behind our house is paved because of school buses. I don't know why this one is paved. I don't know how they decide those things. The brown bins are garbage and the blue bins are recycling. There was a fire at the recycling plant, Crown Shred recycling plant, not the city one, I don't think. Building wasn't saved, but was saved. I think it was more in the outside where stuff was probably stockpiled. I have a cat. I don't think he'd like it. Although Alice was watching somebody on YouTube who takes his cat on adventures, skiing, hiking on a leash. You have to train him really early and they have to take to it. We tried putting a harness on Shadowpaw when he was a kitten to see if we could train him to the leash. And that didn't go well, so we never tried again. Or maybe it was just a collar, but he would have none of that. But this cat apparently enjoys it, rides on his owner's shoulders, wears little skiing goggles. Now, he doesn't do downhill skiing, I wouldn't think, but, you know, cross country with the cat riding on his shoulders. With a coat, the cat has a little coat. Says he won't wear boots, so he has to pick him up if his feet get cold, but I think he has a little carrying thing. So he lives out somewhere near Banff, so it's a Canadian who's done this with their cat. Okay, this is the four-way stop we would have come to if I'd continued around. This is going in the alley. Nope, another note. What's that? Yeah, I think it's rare to find a cat that takes to the leash. We have a Siberian, which is a breed that's supposed to be quite dog-like, but he's not that dog-like. Didn't get hit by the bus, so that's good. So this will take us now back to the park I often walk through. I'll now be walking from this direction to start, instead of the other direction, and that will take me home. Get back to my podcast. Transcription should be ready to edit now. Transcript. Sebastian de Castell will be this weekend's featured. And then I've got two I have in hand. I have David Ebenbach is coming up in a couple, either 2 weeks or a month. I have to look. And I also interviewed a cyberpunk author named Anna Masakat, who's it's interesting, born in Warsaw, grew up in Germany, started her writing career in German, won Germany's top science fiction fantasy awards, moved to the US and is now writing in English. She's worked with a big traditional German publisher, but she's self-publishing her English stuff, so that's interesting to talk to. And this week I interviewed Jane Yolen, which is exciting. She rejected a book of mine a long time ago when she had her own imprint. When I was in my 20s, I guess. 30s, 20s. It was in the 80s, like the second book I tried to get published. And she said, there's nothing wrong with this, and a larger house might be able to take it on, but it wasn't for her. Which I appreciated, but a larger house didn't take it on. It went to a very bad publisher, who I should never have signed a contract with. And I will bring it out through Shadowpaw Press, but it'll need editing. I figure if I'm going to bring out my old books, the least I can do is polish them up. At least a bit. Oh, what's the note here? Jane Yolen? I don't know, actually. Asked where she lives. I don't know. Or were you talking about Anna Masakat? She lives in South Carolina, North Carolina. Greenville? That's North Carolina, isn't it? I think so. There's a lot of authors in the Carolinas. Well, Bain Books is located down there. I've talked to Well, Morrison Scott Card lives down there. I talked to him. Christopher Rocchio, whom I've talked to. He's an editor with Bain, but he's published by Daw, so he's a fellow Daw author. Oops. A couple others. David Weber, I think, lives down that way, that I've talked to. Now, some of those may be North Carolina, some of them may be South Carolina. I realize those are two different states and they could be hundreds of miles apart, but still. I just hear Carolina. It's like Dakota. People hear North Dakota, South Dakota. They don't know it. It's just the Dakotas. All right, so here's the park. Two ways I can go, but I think I'll go take the winding path down by the bridge. I could go to the left and take more of a shortcut, cut off a bit of distance, but that's not the point. Over here is where Saskatchewan Express hangs out. They're a touring company of young people, performers, and they also have a theater school and dance school and that sort of thing. Been around for a very long time. Carol Gay Bell started it and ran it for many years. There's also down here what used to be the gym. They've turned into a pretty nice little theater, which I haven't done a show in it, but I've been to a show there. They've done some musicals and stuff, but I've never auditioned for one of them. They tend to do Christmas shows, and I don't know. There was a time when I auditioned for every possible opportunity, and I've really not performed all that much now for a while. I auditioned for Beauty and the Beast, Persephone, because I was in the original Beauty and the Beast at Persephone Theatre in 2007. That's the professional theatre in Saskatoon. But then, of course, Beauty and the Beast did not happen because of COVID. Their whole season fell apart. And then the company kind of fell apart. The artistic director resigned under accusations of, I don't know, this and that. So they're all working to rebuild that, and we'll see if I audition again someday. I can still memorize lines and songs at the moment. I can't dance, but I've never been able to dance, so, so that works out. I'm a double threat, but definitely not a triple threat. Well, looks like the creek is completely free of ice down here now. So again, one day I'll go that way. If you keep walking that way, you end up out by the RCMP, and then you can keep on going up into the northwest. I've ridden it on a bicycle, but I've never walked it. And it'd be a long walk back, so I'd probably want somebody to pick me up at the end. Yeah, the last time I was along the creek, there was still ice floating. It looks like it's maybe completely gone now. Geese out there, of course. There's a duck over there having something to say. It's actually unusual for me to run into people out here who aren't walking dogs. It seems like pretty much everybody who's out on the paths in the early morning, at least, is walking a dog. There's bicycles coming up behind me. You know, somebody walking a dog. I'll just, unless they go straight down the dirt path. That's what they're doing, so I will stay on this path. Oh, so many questions. It was 7 when I set out this morning. Probably gone up a degree or 2 since then, since I started walking, because it's supposed to go up to quite warm this up to quite warm technical. 13, I think, for a high today. Maybe more. Before we get a complete change in temperature and precipitation that turns to snow starting tonight and lasting through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and maybe into Wednesday. According to the forecast. What do they know? They're wrong sometimes. But that's what they're forecasting. It's funny because at the beginning of last week, I was talking about this forecast for a big snowstorm. And then I kept checking it. And it disappeared. So I thought, oh, that must have just been a mistake. But now it's back. So we see things shifting. Joggers coming up behind me now.
Very big, right? So they get to use the pathway. But they've got almost like a golf course over in here. And I think the maximum speed on the pathways. That's what that was.
Bicyclers, joggers. Of course, the weekends are busier on the path than I do this on a weekday morning. Walking around the lake is quite busy because it's a very popular thing to do, which is why I will do it on the, see, there's a map, of the entire path. Multi-use pathway. So it's quite long. Trying to see where we are. We're along here somewhere. But it goes all the way up there. The gimbal really doesn't like doing this sort of thing. It gets confused. Then it goes all the way over past the university, and you can even find bits of it way out east. I'm going to walk around the university one of these days. Probably park at Connexus Arts Centre and take a walk around the University of Regina from there. More joggers coming. Yeah, the gimbal doesn't like you pointing at things that it can't figure out what you're doing. It actually comes with its own app, which I don't use for this because you can't live stream from it. The app that comes with it has all sorts of bells and whistles. Follow option where you can choose something to follow and put it on a tripod and it will follow it automatically, or that sort of thing.
Yeah. Morning.
Morning.
And he said, like, try to consciously.
Now it's pointing at the sky for no particular reason. I tried to line up the horizon before I started. It always looks a little crooked to me, but I think that's just a function of the way I hold my hand. So how long have I been going here so far today? Well, not that long. This might actually be a little shorter than I thought by the time I get back, but still 15 minutes from home, from here at least. Here in Les Sherman Park. I know what I might do different here is take the dirt path down by the river to go over to the bridge instead of taking the footbridge over and following the path. That might be different. Yeah, I'll take the unofficial path on this side of the creek, which indeed shows none of the floating ice I saw just a day or two ago is still here. It's all water now. It might freeze over a little bit again with the cold weather we have coming the next few days, but that won't stay. And it might not freeze at all, depends on how much it warms up in the sun here before that hits. There's the Neil Bockwell Center, has an art gallery in it, and art classes are held there quite a bit. We've used it to rehearse in years ago, and used to have our annual meeting there for Regina Lyric Light Opera it was then, and Regina Lyric Musical Theatre. No, I can't hear anybody. Asked if I could hear people watching if they had a mic. Nope, it's just text. The Facebook comments remain on Facebook, where the live stream is. I'll link to the high definition version from YouTube later, because it doesn't have any buffering and it's 1080 as opposed to 720. And comments that are left during the live stream on YouTube aren't even archived. If I don't see them and they scroll past, now you never see them. I said before, my inspiration for this was a fellow his name is Gabe, I don't know what his last name is, but his YouTube channel is Walking Commuter, and he walks in Manhattan. And he gets tens of thousands of views. Well, maybe not tens of thousands. Well, you know, a few tens of thousands of views, and has lots of subscribers. And so his chats go streaming by, and he tries to catch them and acknowledge the ones, especially the ones that give him money. There's something called a super chat. If you have enough followers to activate that, and people can give you like a $10 super chat or whatever, and you get that money. So if we can tell from watching him, he clearly gets at least a couple of $100 every walk, I would think. And he does it typically twice a day. Well, since I came out on this side of the bridge, I guess I'll go down that side of the creek. I'm already on this side. There's no point in crossing the creek, going to another bridge, and then crossing back again. And here's the Elfinstone Bridge. Yes, it's very thin right now. Unless you're Jesus, I wouldn't try walking out there. I was going to say, and if Jesus is watching, he should leave a comment, but of course he is watching. If you're a person of faith. And it reminds me of something I saw I was in Butler, Missouri, where I have relatives, and needed a place with Wi-Fi to do a interview, because I was on vacation. We were down there for WorldCon, World Science Fiction Convention in Kansas City, and then went to Butler to visit kinfolk, and but I needed a place with reliable Wi-Fi, so it turned out to be a Bible bookstore, Christian bookstore. And in the bathroom by the sink, there was a sign on the wall that said, wash your hands and say your prayers, because germs and God are everywhere. Or the other way around. Say your prayers and wash your hands. No, it had to be that way. It wouldn't rhyme. There's still ice over there. I'll stay up here for the moment. The other cool thing about Butler is it was the birthplace of Robert A. Heinlein of science fiction fame. And his house is still, that he was born in, still there. And it has, for years it had a sign marking it. and the sign was still there, but it had somehow no longer standing up. It was just leaning up against the house. But the library there is public library was given quite a bit of money by the Heinleins, and in fact has a display room with some first editions and signed copies and other things. In Virginia, Heinlein's name is on the building, so his wife. Down this way. I've never come down here before. The other cool thing when we were there was that I donated some of my books to the Butler Library. And there's a picture of me signing books in the room that has the Heinlein memorabilia in it, which was really cool because Heinlein, there's no question, was my number one influence in becoming a science fiction writer. Isaac Asimov, somewhat, the robot stories I remember. I never read Foundation. I read everything I could get my hands on by Heinlein. And some Arthur C. Clarke I liked. Those are the big three at the time, of course. Robert Silverberg was actually the author of the first science fiction book I read that I can remember. And it was actually the first book he wrote when he was 19 years old, called Revolt on Alpha C. And it actually, I still have it, a little thin paperback. And it actually belonged to my brother because it has his name in it, Dwight Willett. But my brothers were another reason I read science fiction, because that's what they read. So it was in the house. And you know, I hit it at the right time and I loved it. And I have been reading and writing science fiction and then fantasy ever since. Wrote my first story 50 years ago now. My first short story, Castor Glass, Hypership Test Pilot. Just on a rainy afternoon, something to do, a friend and I. He never finished his story as far as I know. And he's certainly not a writer now. Still in touch with him, on Facebook in fact. And he was in my high school graduating class, Rick Straker. But I wrote a short story, Castor Glass Hypership Test Pilot, and I finished it, and I gave it to my mom, who was a secretary, had a nice IBM Selectric at home, and she typed it up, and I took it and gave it to my grade 8 English teacher. I skipped a grade and I had a summer birthday, so in grade 8 I was still 11 going on 12. Not 12 going on 13 or 13 going on 14. And, is that right? Maybe I was 12 going on 13. Let's see. No, I was 13 in grade 9, so I had to be 12 in grade 8. It's hard to remember now. Let's see. Grade 11, 75. Grade 10 ended in 74. Grade 9 ended in 73, which means I was 13 all the way through grade 9 and then turned 14 in June. So I guess in grade 8 I was 12 and I turned 13 sort of just before school ended. I guess that's right. Anyway, I was 11 when I wrote this story. Maybe I was 12 when I showed it to my teacher. Or maybe he was my grade 7 teacher. Whatever. Tony Tunbridge was his name, and I dedicated my book, The City Born, to him, and actually was able to track him down. He's overseas, and I sent him a copy. He never acknowledged it, so I hope it got there. He was in Indonesia or somewhere. So. He did me the honor of critiquing it seriously. He said, well, I don't understand this, and why did your character do that? And the sorts of things I do when I'm critiquing now. And I still credit that with kind of Okay, well, the next thing I do will be better than that. And I kept doing next things and was writing longer and longer stuff. Then in high school, I wrote 3 novels. The Golden Sword, Ship from the Unknown, Slavers of Fuck, all of which I still have. I'm actually kind of started cleaning up Slavers of Fuck and thought I might put it online, maybe under a pseudonym. Just say it's by a high school student and see what happens. My concern is it sells better than my real books, or my current books. What's that? Arthur C. was mine, but Heinlein too. Yeah, if you're of a certain age, it was Asimov, Heinlein, and Clarke were the big 3. Silverberg was the young whippersnapper. And then you had others, of course, were coming along, showing up, Damien Knight, and others. When you got into the 60s, you had Harlan Ellison and the New Wave, which I hated. A little too young for the New Wave. And even now, looking back at some of that, I think, nah, not for me. One more block. And yes, I thought I would be warm enough, and I am definitely warm enough. It's a fairly brisk walk. Even though I'm talking, I try to keep it brisk. And I figure the fact I can do that, walk briskly and not be so out of breath I can't speak, means I'm unlikely to drop dead on one of these walks. So there is that. I guess that's the danger of live streaming. Something happens to you, it's captured. And then it goes viral. That's not the way I want to go viral. Look at this guy falling into the river on his walk. So I said before, it's Facebook Live. You don't want to turn into Faceplant Live. Here's my traditional stop sign. So, thanks, Rhea. I know you were there. Anybody else that was watching live, thanks for coming on the walk. And if you watch this on the the recording, thanks for that as well. So, bye for now.